As we continue our walk with Jesus through this last week of his life on the earth before he went to the cross, we come to Tuesday, and many call this the day of controversy. The disciples and Jesus arrived again in Jerusalem, and as Jesus walked into the temple courts, the chief priests and teachers of the law and the elders came to him and said, "By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you the authority to do this?" They were speaking about, of course, the cleansing of the temple that he had done on Monday, the day before. And the Palm Sunday victorious triumphant entry, and then the cleansing of the temple, this upset the status quo. It upset the leaders there in Jerusalem, and he was hitting at the very core of what they embraced and held to. And so they are asking him. Jesus did not answer them. And, you know, it's interesting. We don't need to answer questions when they're asked to us. In fact, we can answer a question like Jesus did with another question. Jesus said, I will tell you, if you, I will ask you one question, and if you answer it, I'll tell you by what authority I'm doing these things. John's baptism, was it from heaven or from men? And he had them right where he wanted them. If they said from heaven, then Jesus would say, then why didn't you believe him? And if they say from men, they feared the people, because all the people held that John was a prophet, and so they said, we don't know. And then Jesus said, neither will I tell you by what authority I am doing these things. If he had answered that question, they would have arrested him on the spot, but because of the answer he would have given. But it was not yet the hour for his death, and so still a couple days off. He wanted to eat that Passover with his disciples, and the whole plan of Jesus being on the cross on Friday and becoming our Passover lamb. And so the day progressed. He told the parable of the tenants, and how the land was rented out by a landowner, and the tenants misused and persecuted and abused everyone that came. And finally, the landowner said, "I'll send them my son. They'll respect him." And they killed him and threw him out of the vineyard. And Jesus quotes out of Psalm 118, "The stone the builders have rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this, and it's marvelous in our eyes." And they were looking then for a way to arrest him, because they knew that he had spoken this word against them. And then they sent some of the Pharisees and the Herodians to him to test him concerning paying taxes. That was a hot potato, if anything was one. And Jesus, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? No, here's another question where they're trying to catch him. And Jesus said, bring a denarius to me. Interesting, he didn't have any money on him himself. And so they brought a denarius, and he said, whose inscription's on it? Caesar. And he said, then give to Caesar what's Caesar, and to God what's God's. And then the Sadducees, who say there's no resurrection, they came to him, and they told him a scenario about a man that had a wife and never had any children by that woman, and he had 7 brothers, and all the brothers had died, one after another. Finally, the woman died, and they, in the resurrection, which they didn't believe in, but in the resurrection, whose wife will she be? And Jesus said, aren't you in error? Because of 2 things. You do not know the Scriptures or the power of God. There's not going to be any marriage in the resurrection, when the dead rise. They'll be like the angels in heaven. And the scriptures there make that plain. Jesus, he hit them right where they were asking the question. They went away. And then someone came and asked him, what's the greatest commandment? And of course, Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Second's like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus then told the man that he was not far from the kingdom of God.